Hey, looks like I'm live now, finally. All right, looks like I've been live for a few seconds.
Yes.
All right, thanks so much for being here, whoever's watching. And I have an interesting discussion for you today. So I wanted to talk a little bit about back bends. Using back bends in yoga have been very helpful for me. I like a lot of ways to twist the back. In a good yoga class, you're going to twist your back forward, back, side, side, curve, curve. You want to get a good angle on your back, moving in every direction and breathe. That way you can get liquid and water all around the joints and the ligaments and the bones, the muscles. You want to lubricate it pretty well and help manipulate the flow of oxygen.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Exactly. You want it to be really nice and securely and safely manipulated naturally by alignment. So let's talk about back bends and a little bit about my specialty of back bends in the history. So when I got into yoga, as many of you have heard from my story, I wasn't the most flexible practitioner. I was someone who I enjoyed it, but I wasn't like some of the girls that were in class. You go to yoga classes, you see a lot. I saw a lot of ballet dancers and contemporary dancers that did yoga as ways to help them with their flexibility, their grace, a little bit of their range of motion, and also probably some of their recovery. When I went in, I'm coming in with a P90X football type build, and I had a lot of muscle. I was pretty chiseled, so it wasn't a lack of strength. I can do a lot of things like headstand and even handstand based out of pure strength. I can lift my body off the floor and do a lot of body weight holds. I mean, keep in mind, I'm doing 120 pull-ups, 120 push-ups, and a lot of other body weight exercises all within 50 minutes. So for me, going into yoga, pure strength wasn't an issue. It was the balance, the agility, and the grace that I really had to come to grips with. And even more than that, it was just the basic range of motion wasn't there yet for me. The flexibility wasn't there. So segue that into some of the back bends. I didn't have the structure to actually get into the back bends the way I can now. And I don't have a fraction of the I mean, I'm stronger now than I probably was at my peak then, based just off dad strength, I guess. I have a lot of physical strength. I'm still very physical. I didn't necessarily lose my strength, maybe dropped a little bit in pure bench press, but I'm still a relatively strong guy in terms of endurance. I don't know if I can do 120 pull-ups in 50 minutes if I had to right now, considering I'm getting up there in size. I'm still pretty lean. I move a lot. I'm pretty active. There's days in the morning I take off my shirt, I can see abs, but at the same time, I'm pushing some weight. I'm not the smallest guy. Getting up there, nearing around 6 foot, about 200 pounds almost. I guess I would say I'm like 190, 193. Any given day I could get up a little higher. So for me, a lot of the back bends and whatnot, the holds, you would think that I would have an advantage just based off the pure strength, and in some ways I did, but more often than not, I kind of struggled because I didn't have that grace and structural flexibility and range of motion. So it took me a while to safely get into something like wheel. Some of those poses and postures were just kind of I wouldn't say ridiculous. They were pretty admirable to try. You wanna be careful trying to pose like Will, though. I'd recommend something like bridge first. When I was doing my back bends, I did a lot of butterfly, and that helped me open up my hips, get my lumbar thoracic spine to loosen, and then my cervical spine started to go as well. I'd breathe in. As I exhale, I would extend myself forward and safely get myself into some of these positions. And that was really fun. That was pretty good for me. So I did pretty well with back bends in that regard. Just getting a stretch right away didn't look like I was doing much, but I was feeling a ton of benefit. And I think a lot of the people that were in classes with me were, not jealous in an envious way of wanting to take from me, but in an envious way of wanting to feel that too so easily. I had a buddy who we went to college together my freshman year, and he had a really low tolerance for any sort of pain medication or if he drank alcohol or whatnot. He liked it because he said it didn't have to take him a lot of money for him to feel a buzz or to feel like his medicine was working. So for me, right away, I can do very basic stretches, and I'd feel it on my back. I'd feel a little bit of soreness and whatnot, and also I would loosen up pretty quickly. So when I would do a spinal twist, I can feel it. Sometimes my back would pop, my vertebrae would pop as I would I'd go in to the pose and breathe into the posture. And again, those pops are air leaving the body. It's safe. It's going to flood the area of more air and oxygen. Having worked, I mean, now that I work in a chiropractor's office, I understand a lot more about those pops and cracks even than I did in yoga teacher training. But they're very safe as long as you're careful and you're listening to your body. You're not overdoing it. You want to try to be as conservative as possible, particularly if you're not used to any posture. But particularly with back ends, you really want to try to be conservative. Now, going into something like wheel, that is something where you're going to need the arm strength, the core strength to hold yourself up and balance yourself. You're going to be in an inversion because your head's going to be lower than your belly button. So you're going to be upside down, so to speak. So you want to be able to have the equilibrium to feel comfortable upside down. You're going to want to stabilize yourself with your heels and ankle on the ground. You might lift the foot off the ground and get a nice stretch and kind of work out your core a little bit and support yourself in your arms. This will help prep you for a headstand and handstand,
Yes.
which everyone seems to love to do. Headstand and handstands are very popular in a stable of practice. And I know some people don't understand why you would incorporate those moves into practice, but I tell you, once you get them, they're part of the journey. And I know initially you might think,
That that doesn't make any sense.
right, because it looks like a trick. But once you get past it being a trick, it actually becomes a part of the practice in a sense of there's benefits you get from a headstand. Those types of versions are great for migraines. They're great for control. They're great for the calmness in the storm. If you're doing a hatha yoga, they're really good for alignment, and they're just really great to take compression and decompress the spine a little bit, help take the weight of gravity off of you, and also utilize the strength of your balancing in your arms and your hips. There's a lot of different ways to do headstand and handstand as well. So you might want to look into those if you have the core strength and you have the flexibility. Now, back to back bends, I would always recommend getting in safely to something where you can loosen up your hips and your hamstrings gently without any limitations. So I recommend butterfly often. You can go into frog as well and open up your hips that way. And that's going to get the lumbar and thoracic spine to start to decompress as well, particularly if you breathe. So that's going to be what you're going to want to do. Probably most importantly is take a lot of good breaths in there. If you're getting in those breaths, you will usually feel pretty comfortable. And if you're not feeling comfortable, I say back off without a panic. Just take a few breaths in. As you exhale, that's when you start to begin to be making your move into or out of the posture. And that's where you can safely get in and get out. So, anyway, this was just a quick video. I wanted to jump on and talk a little bit about back bends. I do have more great insight and videos for us coming up. So, thank you for being here. And if you want to be a yoga instructor and go through our training, which has been phenomenal experiences all around. I've treasured every experience. And go ahead and click the link in the description at sawyoga.com. We have banners all over the place. And if you need any help, we have the chat box for assistance. So reach out and we will get back to you. But thanks for being here. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and we will see you next time on the next live stream, which will be very soon. So take care.